like shares fall on news or something.
Yeah, shares fall as expected on all news ever.
On spectacular earnings or something.
Dog bites man.
Or just, you know, I think it's worth reporting if you're the financial press. Just
Sure. No, absolutely.
Where the news should be.
I want to know if a dog bit a man in my neighborhood, but I'm not going to be shocked. Man bites dog, on the other hand, that's headlines.
It's just despite. I guess that's the word I'm bothered by. Facebook after hours, despite earnings beat.
It's like playing on your ignorance.
Just sell to drive the price down, and then you buy back.
All right. Mr. Chang, are you prepared for a show, sir?
Yes, I am hiding.
Mr. Young,
Let's go. Let's do it.
Prepared? You are not prepared. It's more like Sean Connery than Illidan, but here we go.
Daily Tech News Show is powered by its audience, not outside organizations. To find out more, head to dailytechnewsshow.com/support.
This is the Daily Tech News for Tuesday, November 2nd, 2016. Dia de los Muertos. Me llamo Tomas Merritt. And Justin Robert Young is alongside, even though it's Wednesday. We explained this all to you yesterday, but Patrick Beja will be here tomorrow. It shifted everybody else a day earlier.
See. I'm very excited to be here, Tom. We're covering for the BlizzConners, right?
Yeah, so that's the thing. Patrick Beja coming in town for BlizzCon. Scott Johnson coming in town for BlizzCon today. So neither one of them could do Wednesday. Justin Robert Young says, BlizzCon? I don't know what that is. And I explained it to him. And he's like, oh, right. No, I did know what that is. I just forgot.
Yeah. I'd like to go. I'd actually... unfortunately, I was thinking there was a very thin slice of chance that I might have gone just to drive down and just say hi to people, but now it looks like I don't know.
Turns out that deli thin slice chance.
There's this election thing, and now I might
want right.
And everything. So it's a thing. Anyway,
we do that show. It's got 3 words. They're all the same word.
Yeah,
politics.
Available right now.
We're going to talk about the benchmark of mobile traffic passing desktop traffic, and what that means for us in a little bit. But we've got other news. Dell teased its own Surface Studio. It's an all-in-one PC that's kind of like the Microsoft Surface Studio. Microsoft said they want manufacturers to do this. Dell unveiled it at the Adobe Max conference. It has 2 screens and a dial-like controller, but not the Microsoft dial. It's Dell's own thing. There's no other details. They just showed off a concept. Twitter announced it's going to stream the Game Awards on December 1st at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, hosted by Jeff Keighley. Now here are some more top stories. Microsoft had its big Office announcement, announcing an IFT competitor, as well as a Slack-like product called Microsoft Teams. Subscribers to Office 365 will be able to use Teams. You'll be able to chat and collaborate just like you can in Slack. Has threaded conversations just like Slack. Has a sidebar where it has things like meetings, files, chat, and activity notifications. And of course, it integrates with all the Office stuff. Word, Excel, PowerPoint, etc. Skype integrates in there. Power by SharePoint Planner, all in there. Microsoft is making Teams extensible too. They don't want it to just be Microsoft stuff, so there's an open API, and it has its own bot framework. They showed off Twitter integration when they announced it. Slack itself published a full-page ad in the New York Times welcoming Microsoft to the world of Slack-like products and giving it some friendly advice, Justin.
So, all right, a couple questions here. But that I will preface with a statement. Number one, our illustrious producer, Roger Chang, has been organizing everybody's time so we can do our annual predictions review and new predictions episode coming up toward the end of the year. And I'm not going to name the French contributor to this very show, but they are going to have their prediction that Slack will die stuffed right in his mouth.
Right, I forgot all about that. Yeah,
because this is a gigantic example that not only is Slack not dead, but it is certainly stronger than ever. Let's get to this Microsoft product, though. I think Slack, the part of the reason why Slack is so successful is that it's the very almost too obvious combination of so many different things that were kind of so already readily available that it just makes this I can understand it sense, and just reduces email, which is constantly just the golden goose for any and all tech products. That being said, I think I don't know where Microsoft Teams is. To me, Microsoft Teams is less than something more specific to a field like Discord, which has a lot of Slack sort of elements to it, but is more for people who are gaming together. Microsoft Teams feels like a logical junction point for a lot of what they normally do, but I don't know why Slack doesn't do all of it better, even if by features, Microsoft Teams might have it beat, but who knows? I mean, Slack can always improve. What Slack has in its advantage that Microsoft has had in its advantage for decades now is that a lot of people use it already and are familiar with it. And to switch it from one thing to another is not just switching your email client. You have to switch everybody onto a new platform, and very often that is a little difficult.
Well, I would turn that around and say that's exactly why Microsoft Teams is going to be just fine. Because for as many people as Slack has, it pales into comparison to the number of Microsoft Office users that are out there.
Yes.
And what Microsoft just did is said, hey, 80 million people, I don't know, that's not the exact number, who have Office 365, you can now use this thing called Teams. Maybe or maybe not you've heard of Slack. For those of you who aren't on Slack, though, guess what? Microsoft Teams is your thing. And the other thing Microsoft's doing is targeting this at the enterprise. They are not giving you a free version the way Slack does. Slack very wisely does that because that gets people to try it who might not otherwise. Microsoft's just going to their existing customers and going, hey, here's how you implement Teams now.
I do wonder, though, because, is this bringing a solution to people that do not need that solution or do not feel that they are capable of handling it? I think you're right. Listen, they're going to invent rock and roll for a whole swath of people that might not have known what it was before. And
they are the Pat Boone to Slack's Bill Haley.
Absolutely. That is certainly something that is going to happen. But are these people not on products like Slack because they haven't heard of it yet, or because they just don't need another fancy whiz bang computer program to get in their way?
I think most of them just haven't got on it. When you're talking about enterprise here, inside Silicon Valley, you may be right, but enterprise level organizations outside may have looked at Slack and said, yeah, I don't know if we really want to implement that across the board. Yeah, we don't know if it's reliable. It's a weird company, whereas they feel perfectly comfortable with Microsoft, especially because it's already covered under their existing license and they have support for it immediately. Boom, it's there. They don't have to pay extra. They don't have to do anything. They don't have to enter into a new relationship with another vendor. You just turn it on. So any company out there who's been having that one guy in the office who's a hipster who's like, come on, you guys, we got to get on Slack, is going to go, hey, great. Now we don't have to listen to that guy. We just turn on Microsoft Teams.
So you are a Teams player? Are you bullish?
They are Teams players. Exactly. I'm a Slack guy. I got a dog in this fight. I mean, I'll play around with Microsoft Teams, but yes, I think you're absolutely right. For those of us in Slack, there's not a compelling reason to switch, but I don't think Microsoft cares if you switch.
One question is the video conferencing, is that Skype or is it another Microsoft Teams video chat?
That is a great question. Yes, Skype is integrated. So the way I would, if I were a politician, I would answer that by saying, that's a great question. Of course, you can use Skype to do all your great video conferencing. I don't know if that also means there's another video conferencing element to Teams.
Because there's one thing that I think Slack very much would need to do, and I would be willing to pay for Slack to do, is if I was able to not only organize my podcasts with collaborators, but also video conference in a way that isn't as janky and ridiculous and constantly updating and getting itself into weird compatibility problems like Skype does.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to get that. But it is Skype for Business, which is essentially Link that most of these companies will be using. And supposedly for video conferencing that's more reliable than the consumer version. So
Uber launched a redesign of its app meant to make it faster and easier to get a ride. First ride types are grouped into luxury and economy sections with estimated cost and time of arrival by each option. Some machine learning will also suggest good points on the map for pickup location, especially helpful in places like malls and stadiums. It will also add shortcuts to the bottom of the app with the best guesses at where you want to go. And soon, Uber will add the ability to type in a friend's name as a destination so it can take you wherever they are, as long as they approve it by text message. Tom, I got a chance to play with this app hands-on over the weekend before it launched. The biggest thing that I noticed in it was the bottom now, as you will be able to see, is not the traditional all of your options on a little click slide where it would go from Uber Pool to Uber Singular.
Right. Those are up in the main area, whether you're on economy or luxury, right?
Exactly. So now they are subgrouped into those economy luxury things. Number one, that's very, very good in terms of solving the pain problem of people accidentally getting Uber Pools when they think they're getting just regular Uber X's. But it also buries a lot of these make good options that when I traveled around the country, you would notice that whenever you would land in certain cities, every city had its own little roster of options at the bottom. And so taxi might be right next to Uber X in a certain city. Handicapped availability would be available otherwise. But they would all be there in equal measure. Now that is not the case. So Uber can make whatever deal that they make with the city and then put in a 4-swipe submenu for the majority of people, whatever like little make good things that they've done city by city. What Uber, I'm sure, would say is that, yes, but if you love using Uber to hail a taxi in Cleveland, we will load you right to that based on how your usage history is. So for the better ones, like the handicapped availability options, for example, it will always snap there. And I think I'll tell you what, I was impressed with the app. I think it's a cleaner version of Uber going forward.
Yeah, I like all these changes. I like that it can let me choose to say, hey, I know Justin's downtown. Take me to Justin. I like the way it handles it and says, great, let's just make sure Justin's okay with that. You know, it's not tracking Justin. It says, Justin, can we have your location so your friend Tom can come visit you? That's all very well handled. They've learned lots of lessons about privacy there, I think. I like that it can suggest locations, but it doesn't force you to use them. They're just down there at the bottom like, hey, we know you go to LAX a lot, you know, so we're just going to put LAX right there for you so you can tap it if that's where you're going. If you're not, no problem. I got no beefs with any of these.
You want a kind of thought, especially in looking at that more person to person, bring me to a person kind of thing, is I'm almost shocked that they didn't fold in some kind of chat thing. Like that now Uber is very much a lifestyle thing. You know, a lot of people will sell their cars or not buy a car in major cities. Granted, this is not everywhere. This is certainly a city by city situation. But for those people, they live inside those apps, and I'm almost curious that I'm not curious. I would not be surprised if going forward they do not fold in just not a full social network or anything, but just little socially sort of element.
Yeah. I feel like adding chat is mission creep. It's like, look, people can text message. We'll use text message. That's fine. But there may be yet opportunities where they say, hold on, this is something you can't easily replicate with text message. So let's add in something social. I think it's wise for them not to put in chat, but I think it's also a great idea that you're identifying of like, there may be other opportunities there.
And maybe it's not permanent chat. Maybe it's if you go into an Uber Pool, you now have a chat with the other 3 people that are set to take your Uber Pool or whatever. And there's another way for you to do it and interact with people. And that way you can.
Oh, yeah. So you can say like, can you cancel your Uber Pool? Because I'm really in a hurry.
Yeah, exactly. Would you mind if I go first or something like that? I don't know. I mean, this might be opening up more than I can even think when I first had the thought. But if it's not that, just like, this is a great way for Uber to say, we know a lot about you. We know a lot about what you do. We know a lot. We've invested a lot in these maps technologies where we can figure out, you know, like where you are and where you need to go from here. All that being said, a lot of this is about our relationship with you, and maybe you can have a relationship with other people. We can be the hinge between those two in a different way.
Password manager LastPass has made access to its mobile apps free. So now you don't need to pay to get LastPass on mobile. You also get free two-factor authentication, password generation, sync across devices. So what do you need to pay for? Why are you paying for that LastPass? Well, if you pay for LastPass Premium, you get access to family password sharing. You get more two-factor authentication methods. You can use YubiKey or Sesame. You get encrypted file storage, fingerprint identification on desktop, priority customer support, and an ad-free password vault, which made a lot of people go, hold on, does this mean you're putting ads in the free versions? So I would expect to see some mobile ads in LastPass if you're not paying for premium. Users who signed up for premium in the last 30 days can ask for a refund. If you're like, hey, the only reason I paid was to get the mobile app. Now that's free, I don't need to pay. They'll say, fine, we'll give you a refund on that. Anybody else would just have to cancel whenever your current term is up. And thanks to Rivers Rubin on our subreddit, who pointed out that the current Humble Bundle from Lifehacker, it ends Wednesday night. So if you're listening to this on Thursday, I'm sorry that you missed it. But the current Humble Bundle that's up as we're recording has LastPass Premium along with CyberGhost VPN.
You know, in this modern era, when we are watching a presidential election that is almost daily rocked by leaked emails that were obtained by a very simple phishing scheme, the idea of personal device security seems more important to many than it has at any time. I think LastPass is very smart to spread themselves in a freemium kind of model at this point.
I tell you, I used to be a 1Password user, and the fact that I couldn't use it across all my devices, including Linux devices, meant that I switched to LastPass. But I was always a little annoyed that I had to pay for a subscription to use the mobile version. And then they started adding other features in, and I started already telling myself, like, okay, I'm annoyed that I have to pay for the software on mobile because that just seems silly. But I do get all of these other benefits like encrypted file storage and things that are important to me. So I'm fine with that. This just seems to be catching up with that, saying, hey, guess what? Wanting a mobile version isn't a premium feature anymore. That's a required feature. So we're going to step that down. I think that's smart.
The Criterion Collection pulled its classic movies out of Hulu as of November 11th, or will pull it, in order to team up with Turner Classic Movies on a service called Filmstruck. You've been! The Filmstruck launches Tuesday in the U.S. for $6.99 a month without the Criterion Collection, or $10.99 a month, or $99 a year with the Criterion Collection. Filmstruck will pull its movies from indie studios like Janus and Zeitgeist, along with major studios. 70 curated programming themes will be refreshed regularly, along with bonus commentaries, outtakes, interviews, introductions. It is available on the web, Apple TV, Fire TV, Android, and the iOS.
Yeah, so this is weird. It made sense to me when Criterion Collection partnered up with Turner to say, oh, you know, we got a better deal over there, so we're gonna do that. We're gonna go into our Turner thing, and I'm like, okay, Turner's gonna pull out a classic collection, and Criterion makes the bedrock of that. Having a tier that doesn't include Criterion is odd to me. $10.99 a month just seems more odd because of that.
Yep.
I don't know if that's because there's a $6.99 tier, or if they'd come out with $10.99, I would have looked at it and said, why isn't it $9.99? And then they launched with hundreds of movies, which, granted, if they're curating these,
hundreds.
If you're curating these, and the whole point is like, you're not coming here to find all the movies you want. You're coming here because you want to be exposed to great movies, and we're curating them and bringing them to you. Then I guess that makes sense. But for people used to the all-you-can-eat Netflix model of thousands and thousands of movies, in a world where people are continually criticizing Netflix because even though its originals are growing, its back catalog seems to be shrinking. all the time.
Netflix had to get into originals. Had to.
This is a weird pitch. Now they claim there's 15 million people that they know are so into classic movies that they will easily pay $10.99 a month for this, but I'm not sure.
You want to know what I would pay for? Is just a Criterion Collection thing that had all the Criterion Collections. I would understand that it would have a very threadbare kind of a movie thing, a movie library, but they would do original stuff. Like if I just got the Film Buff thing, and it was Criterion Collection has a brand. I don't know how much it spreads. I know certainly for me, Criterion Collection, as I was in my late teens, early 20s, was a gold standard for these are the movies, the older movies that you need to watch. And this is how you know that the movie that you loved last year is indeed a classic, because Criterion is making their own version of it. And this is why Wes Anderson became a big director in my eyes, and I think for a lot of other people and many of his generation. If Criterion Collection had a subscription service and they did Wes Anderson week, and you could count on once a month, there would be some director and they would do live commentaries with their movies that they would stream, or they would upload special stuff, and it would just be a lot of big, long form, like real, like film nerd, thick rim glasses, like kind of content would really get into that niche. I'd be interested. But I have a hard time looking at what we're seeing right now and not seeing Hulu rejects and library in an era when library is as unreliable as it's ever been, that these movies flip from service to service and always charge more to get it, so you can't promise me these things are always going to be there, and seem to matter less and less because they are everywhere. And even if it's on one thing right now, I don't know, just wait 4 months and eventually the Hunger Games will be back on Netflix. Like it's just how it is.
I think Filmstruck, if they were here right now, would say, Justin, we are exactly what you want. That's why we're doing all this bonus content, these mini docs, these introductions. And that's why we partnered with the Criterion Collection, because we want to do exactly that. And we're going to bring you this library that isn't in the Criterion Collection, but is on par with that. These aren't just going to be old library titles that you see in the public domain bin at Best Buy. These are going to be great movies. And we're going to have the same treatment for them that you get from the Criterion Collection. So I think that's what they're trying to pitch. But when you separate out Criterion Collection into its own channel, it just creates the optic that, well, there's the Criterion Collection stuff, and then this other crap that we had lying around the studio.
I was just looking here at the top, the most popular online streaming services.
Well, here, let me throw some of the Filmstruck titles. These are titles that will be in Filmstruck, and I believe, if I'm reading this right, well, no, this is not right, because some of these are definitely Criterion Collection. Seven Samurai is going to be in there. Mad Max, Hard Day's Night, Babette's Feast. These all sound. They're saying this is a selection of titles from Filmstruck, but they all sound like Criterion to me. The movies are coming from Janus. They're coming from Zeitgeist. They're coming from Global Lens, Oscilloscope, Shout Factory. There's some from Warner and MGM. So, okay, here we go. Filmstruck curated the Beauty of Italy passport, the Cinema passport, the Stanley Kubrick passport. Obviously, there'll be a Kurosawa one, Francois Truffaut. So this is what you want.
No, here's why it's not, okay? Right now, when you look at the top streaming services that aren't either big library plays or live television plays, so take out all the Amazons, Netflix, Hulus, right? Take out all the MLB, NHL, Sling, PlayStation Views.
Sure,
right?
Sure.
Then you're left with the top of the heap in niche is WWE Network and Crunchyroll. Take two of those successes as an example. Those are two services that have built either by previous reputation or by delighting their customers that they will get the niche, that they will tickle your niche. They will play exactly for what you want to pay a premium for. I think that there is definitely room for that for the independent cinema film nerd. I think that like that is something that is ripe to do. However, you have to prove, like, don't sell me on the idea. No, don't worry. We will be doing things like intros and interviews. When you do the mini docs that people care about, that'll be interesting. When you lock down,
they're in there. They're already in there.
Okay, but I mean, are they're original mini docs?
Yeah.
And I mean, but here's my point: if you're not going to, if they're not press release worthy, then what are they? Like, if you're not going to say to the people that understand or appreciate independent cinema, if you're not going to lead with it, then I don't know how important it is, because you don't feel it's important enough to lead with.
So I'm looking at the curated section of Filmstruck called How to Make a Movie. It has Living in Oblivion, Man Bites Dog, The Player, The Stuntman, an adaptation, and then a mini doc called How to Make Yourself Crazy Making Movies. Now, your complaint is that they're not focusing on these mini docs, but I would argue what they're saying is like, hey, if you love exploring film, we've got all kinds of stuff like this. Come watch, and we've got mini docs for all of it. We've got introductions for all of it.
I guess here's my point. The fact that they exist don't matter. Bring me in with the content that makes me say, oh my God, I have to pay for it. Charlie Kaufman saying how to make yourself crazy making a movie, a 2-hour conversation with Charlie Kaufman, one of a screenwriter for which is very familiar to the Criterion audience crowd. That's pay attention worthy. Spike Jonze, how he storyboarded Where the Wild Things Are, a 2-hour meticulous documentary. I want to see that. An on-set interview with Wes Anderson as he shoots his new stop motion thing. I want to see that. That's what that crowd wants. And I don't think just having, I'm sure they're good. I'm sure they're decent mini docs, but it's like, do I want to subscribe based on How to Make Yourself Crazy, the mini doc? No, I don't.
Oh,
like,
my God.
Because I guess
post.
Final thought, that the Criterion Collection has a name because it collected other names, right? Like, because it crowned Kurosawa, because it crowns all these other, filmmakers as being the best, right? Worthy of a vanguard position. If they are not providing a service that gives me greater access into their work specifically, and I would say as close to getting them to talk about it as possible, then I don't know what worth it is.
All right, we got to move on. The UK's Admiral Insurance recently launched a discount plan called First Car Quote for first-time drivers. It let the company analyze your Facebook posts to see if you had personality traits that matched successful drivers. Things like, I don't use a lot of exclamation points, or I don't use a lot of extreme words. Admiral promised they would give discounts of up to £350 if your personality traits matched. Facebook, in turn, blocked Admiral's app from accessing Facebook data. Facebook's terms prohibit using data for eligibility decisions for things like, insurance or loans. Admiral has relaunched the plan with reduced functionality. Now you just got to share a Facebook login, and then it'll give you a discount. It doesn't scan your personality anymore. Company said it would only ever offer discounts anyway. It didn't intend to raise rates yet. In a slightly related story, people are checking into Standing Rock Reservation on Facebook to try to make it hard for protesters in the area to be tracked. Martin County Sheriff's Department in North Dakota said on Facebook, quote, "It does not follow Facebook check-ins for the protest camp or any location. This claim/rumor is absolutely false." So a couple of different stories. One, an insurance company trying to sneak around the terms to do some marketing. And the other, protesters trying to flood good data with bad data to befuddle something that the sheriff's office said it wasn't doing anyway.
So let's, for right now, set aside the did they, don't they, will they, won't they questions, right? And let's just draw a circle around how comfortable we are in the year 2016 with the scraping and analysis of our publicly posted data affecting our lives. Because if the answer to me is less comfortable when we have situations like this where it might raise my rates, where I might get arrested by the cops because they'll know what I look like if they see me protesting the pipeline, right? Then the only logical step past that is we start making up fake data. We start mixing things around, making the picture less clear. If that becomes a pattern, then it becomes automized. It just becomes a thing that we want to do. We'll have Facebook plugins that will make sure that we add either
Make sure your posts are insurance friendly.
Exactly. Make sure either on a visible or invisible level that you are doing things the right way that optimize your life. I'm very curious, Tom. Where do you think this is going?
I don't think this is going anywhere because Facebook very quickly shut down Admiral. So I think they understand that the optics are really bad if they let people get away with this. They're already fighting the ad targeting thing, where the fact that they have ethnic affinities listed has been controversial. They don't need any more bad press right now. On the protest side of thing, I don't know that Facebook is really involved in it. It does seem more like a feel-good thing for people who aren't there than a thing that actually is going to make much of a difference. If the sheriffs want to get protesters, they could probably just find them in real life. I'm not sure how helpful it was, and the sheriff's department says they weren't doing it anyway. Maybe they're lying. I don't know, but that one doesn't seem to be as significant to me. It feels more like posting with a hashtag.
Were you confused by that? I was very confused by that when I saw, because for whatever reason, just by fate, the first people I saw do it were all people who worked at my former employer, the Go Game, which travels around the country and does events. And so there was like 5 people from the Go Game that were all at this Indian reservation.
Like, they all just flew to North Dakota?
Well, and they've all and we've done a bunch of stuff at Indian reservation before, and I'm like, damn, this game is off the hook. They've got like
They're Go Gaming the pipeline. Amazing.
And then I wound up texting somebody. I'm like, what the hell's going on in South Dakota? And I found out that it was this protest thing. But I am unlike you. I do think that this is something that will continue to happen. And either Facebook's going to want to play defense against it, or we as users are going to want to play defense against it. And I assume that Facebook will play defense against it until they figure out a way that they can appropriately make money without shedding users. As soon as those scales tip in the right, method for them, then they will likely find a way to funnel, this kind of information toward people, which they already do. I mean, they already provide Facebook Pixel and stuff like that as a way for you to match their information with your information to get better targeting.
I'll tell you what Facebook's doing right now is they're laughing all the way to the bank. Facebook earnings reported $7.01 billion in revenue, earnings per share of $1.09, 1.79 billion monthly active users, up 4.6%. Daily active users rose from 1.13 to 1.18 billion, up 17% year over year. Analysts, I'm not even going to bother telling you what analysts estimated because it wasn't anywhere near the revenue and earnings per share that Facebook just killed it. And mobile now makes up 84% of Facebook's ad revenue. So there you go. Facebook is doing something, right?
Fallen out of control, Tom. This is, how young we were. Remember back in I'm going to bring millennials. Come here. Gather.
Sit down on your Uncle Justin's knee.
There was a time when Facebook overtook MySpace that the thought was, yep, this is how it goes. It's just going to be one social network for another one for as long as we live. And they're going to rise and fall and rise and fall and rise and fall. Facebook has done a tremendous job in making themselves more of a bedrock company and surviving by acquiring, but keeping the spirit of a lot of these other apps that have continued to grow under their umbrella. And when you look at social networks that have come after them, let's not use the name of Twitter, but maybe we'll just all think it at the same time.
Sure. It'll be almost like you just said it.
Almost like I just said it. You realize, listen, man, Facebook's done. They've done a lot. I mean, they really are a true success story in the social space. GeekWire reports that starting in August, Amazon began asking customers at its 3 brick-and-mortar retail stores if they are Amazon Prime members. If they are, they get discounted online price on the books. If not, you pay full retail. Before August, all customers got the discounted online price. Barnes & Noble offers a similar program where members get 10 to 40% off in-store purchases, as well as free shipping for online purchases. Amazon has stores in Seattle, San Diego, and Portland, and will soon open in Chicago and Dedham, Massachusetts, outside Boston.
Yeah, this is just notable because we've all been sort of focused on the idea of like, ooh, Amazon actually building out retail stores. Ooh, look at this. Amazon maybe doing grocery stores. Why are they doing this? Here's our first prime example, and I did that intentionally, of them saying, yeah, the whole point of this is to get people to sign up and give us money online. And this isn't a secret plan. Although, GeekWire just noticed it and it's been going on since August. They have signs up in these stores that's like, hey, if you're a Prime member, you get a discount, and scan the books to see the different prices. You pay full retail. If you're not a Prime member, would you like to sign up to be a Prime member right at the counter? You can totally do that today.
The biggest thing I really wanted to talk about with this is that we are looking more and more than we already have into a world where we are in a subscription life, right? And Amazon wants to move into your world with the most interesting and diverse subscription they could possibly offer you. It's just, here's your flat fee that you pay for the year, and we can continue. And their business model is, let's continue to give everybody possible a hook. Do you watch Twitch? Oh, don't worry. You can delight your favorite streamer by giving them a subscription each and every month. You get one free. Oh, do you like fruit? Don't worry. Now you have a way that you can get it delivered to your house. You want to know what? Are you never at home? Guess what? We're going to find a way that you can just pick up that one little thing, so that way you don't have to get to the $40 a subscription thing. We can discount your books. We can make sure that your favorite author gets all that prestige of a physical display somewhere, and they can do book signings. We are Amazon. There's literally nothing we won't do if you give us $99.
We are literally the widest river of commerce in the world right now. Yeah, we are a jungle, and we are full of piranhas, and you cannot escape us.
But that being said, that's obviously, we're making jokes, but hell, it's working. And they are they've been smart in offering things that people actually want, and not like a bunch of crap that they package together and say, well, here, no, you're really going to like it. Let's say there's not a lot of, they're not putting there in the top line, here's a documentary about how to drive yourself crazy.
Yes. And someday all stores will be Amazon. There's the only thing that Demolition Man got wrong. It won't be Taco Bell. It will be Amazon.
It'll be the Zon.
By the way, that humble bundle I mentioned earlier, I misinterpreted the 12. I thought it was 12 more hours. Sorry, folks, if you're listening on Thursday, you're fine. You can get that humble bundle of LastPass and VPN for 12 more days, not 12 more hours. Thank you, T2T2, for pointing that out. And thanks to everybody who participates in our subreddit. You can submit stories and vote on them at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. All right, man, we had some meaty top stories today. We spent almost the whole show on them, but we'll try to do this justice. StatCounter, which draws data from people who use its service to track website visits. They've been doing that since '99, by the way. In October, for the first time, showed that mobile and tablet access was 51.2% of their people versus 48.7%. So the first time since they really started tracking mobile in October 2009 that they've seen mobile pass desktop. And they're not the only ones showing this. In April, ComScore estimated the number of mobile-only internet users at 11.9%, surpassed desktop-only at 10.6%, although the majority still used both. And back in May, Google announced that mobile search outnumbered desktop search. So I mean, we are definitely seeing a huge shift to mobile, and I'm seeing it myself where I spend most of my time when I'm not sitting here actually doing a show, and if I'm not writing things for the show, I'm on my phone.
Understand that this is the reason why Android exists, right? Because in 2007, when Apple drops the iPhone and it becomes very, very clear that mobile is not only a platform, it might become the platform. Google said, we cannot live in a world where somebody else is the gatekeeper to our traffic. We are a search company. This will only become more and more of a thing, and this validates it. I mean, now it is officially the majority of all search traffic. That's, it really is a validation of maybe certainly the last 8 years of technological advancement. There's a reason why all wagons have headed toward the North Star of mobile, and it's because it's validated now officially, but certainly not for the last time.
And does this mean bad things for old dinosaurs like me who look at the web and say, that's much better than apps? And sometimes put down the phone because, you know what, I can't do this on the phone? Or is that just a holdover to my old habits combined with a bunch of companies who haven't quite caught up and still put Flash on their menus?
I think that you're not wrong.
Thank you.
I agree with you. Now, granted, I am rapidly aging myself, so we're both in the same boat here. But I will say that I think we are going to continue to get more and more robust hardware. We will hopefully continue more so than we have to evolve on the UI of mobile, and eventually we will just get better solutions for the failings of siloed apps. Whereas I think you and I can agree that there are just some things that are just better done on the web and not in these little walled gardens. So,
and the other part of it is the promise of mobile for me. When I first launched a Safari browser in Windows CE, Safari browser, an IE browser in Windows CE, the fact that I could see everything the way it looked on my desktop on this little phone was magical. I was like, this is amazing. And of course, iPhone was the top of that peak of like, we can actually do, Trio was great. Now we can do everything you can do on your desktop on a phone, except you can't. And it's because of the operating system more than anything. They won't let you do all the things. So is that just something where I have to wait for the operating systems on mobile to catch up and finally give up the little advantages that they've carved out by not letting you do everything you can on a desktop?
I think that is the gray area for further innovation for sure. That is the place in which I think when we look back 5 years from now, 10 years from now at what the mobile web experience is now and what it will be, I do think that's part of it. Because I mean, listen, and the best apps have siloed, have kind of feature crippled themselves just so you don't get frustrated with them. I locked myself out of my apartment about a week and a half ago, right? And I had to, because of how direct email marketing works, get out a contender email out by noon East Coast time, which is just the right time to do it, right? But I was locked out. So all I had was my phone, and my MailChimp app will only let me read very rich, very nice, very well presented data on how my campaigns are doing. It will not let me create or edit a campaign. However, if I go to their website, I can do it. And it was janky, and I'm shocked that it didn't look like total garbage, but I was able to do everything on my phone. It was just a pain in the ass and certainly not optimized for it, even on the luxurious iPhone 7 Plus screen size.
Yeah. No, when you pull off something, I was at the vet one time, and one of the listeners, Curtis, who's great at pointing out when there's something wrong with the feed that needs fixing, and I super appreciate it, pointed it out, and I was like, oh, I'm at the vet and all I have was the phone. I was able to fix it, but it felt like an achievement, right? It was like, ooh, I figured out how to fix it by using my phone, and it was like a 30-step process when it should have been a 3-step process. So yeah, man, it's not there yet. On the other hand, I see the promise of it, and I know Microsoft has stumbled towards mobile like a zombie that doesn't have eyes anymore. But I was sitting on the couch last night. We were ordering Italian food off of a website from a restaurant, and Eileen wanted to look through the menu. So I was on Surface Book Pro, so she was touching the screen, and I was like, hold on. And I just hit the little button, took off the screen, and gave it to her. And she's like, oh, okay, great. And went through. And I was like, yes, the same operating system, right? It's the operating system I was using to do work moments before that.
Yes.
That suddenly turned into a mobile device that I could hand to her. Like, that's where we need to get.
Also, part of that is us being old, right? Part of us are just being more comfortable with certain.
I'm a little bit yelling at a cloud. I get it. I get it.
A little bit. I'm with you though. That cloud is looking at you funny.
It is. Stop it, Cloud. Let's finish up with a pick of the day. Kevin wrote and asked, I travel for a living and I have my personal MacBook Pro, iPad, and iPhone with me on the road, and I need to be secure, especially with all your warnings, but I have no idea which VPN network is best and the most secure with the best value. Do you have any recommendations? Now, I wrote him back with the caveat that I don't go around testing all the VPNs. I don't research this all the time. So there may be better ones out there. But the ones I rely on are Private Tunnel when I travel, because it's run by the same folks who oversee the OpenVPN open source project. And it's fairly cost effective because you just pay by the bit, not by the month. And then there's ExpressVPN. And there's another one I use as a backup. It's monthly, but it's fairly inexpensive. And it was referred to me by Brian Brushwood. I like it because it has a wide selection of servers to choose from. Private Tunnel, when I first got it, only had 3 or 4. I think they've got 6 or 7 now. But ExpressVPN has tons of them. So I'd be happy to hear your VPNs of choice as well. Send your picks to us. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com. You can find more picks at dailytechnewsshow.com/picks. Do you use a VPN?
You want to know what? I didn't. I do not. I have not. That is to my detriment. And I forgot to download one and never got around to downloading one while I was out in the UK. But it was very, very frustrating to live without one in the UK when I had all of my American geo-restricted sites. Did not deal with.
Private Tunnel, ExpressVPN, and anybody else. Send us some suggestions for Justin. Thank you, Justin Robert Young. What do you got going on? I mean, there's, with the Contender, the game about elections, it's probably a low time for you. It's probably a fallow time.
Well, we're doing a bunch of really, really cool stuff. We're gearing up, of course, for the holiday season. So I do have good news. If you wanted to get any of our little mini expansions that we put out during the debates, looks like we will be doing another run of those. So
good.
So please go over to thecontender.us, sign up for our mailing list. You'll be the first to know when those come out. Heads up, we might also be doing one on election day. We have been discussing the All I Do Is Win expansion pack with quotes from acceptance speeches from throughout the years, including whoever delivers one on Tuesday evening. Well, let's hope Tuesday evening, if not early Wednesday morning.
Fingers crossed for DJ Khaled to pull it out with a write-in.
Exactly. Another one. And I'll tell you what, these things, I don't know if I've talked about these here on the Daily Tech News Show, but these lapel pins are really popular now, and our brilliant, amazing design partners on the Contender, Guts and Glory, are out on a 3-month sabbatical. But before they left, they made these amazing lapel pins just for kind of us internally. And I'm like, no, they're too good just to keep here. We're going to sell a few of them. They're up right now. We're probably in single digits on how many we have right now. So I would suggest going very, 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 very soon. Just go to bit.ly/voting pin. It is our Contender Eagle.
Oh, man. Those are nice.
And you can get them. The pack gets you both the blue and the red, and they will get there in time for election day if you order today and tomorrow, I believe.
Well, we survive on your contributions, ladies and gentlemen. dailytechnewsshow.com/support has all the details, but the main source of our support comes from patreon.com/DTNS. Big welcome to new patrons Stephen Gariepi, David Ward. Thanks to Jesse Boback and Michael Hodgins, who just raised their pledge, and all the other new patrons, existing patrons, people going back to patron number 1, Chris Allen, way back in the day. You guys are the best. In fact, Daniel Martin is a man on Patreon who sent me a message through our Patreon asking about making Daily Tech Headlines, our short sister show, available as an Amazon Echo flash briefing. I would never have known where to start. He dug up a developer email for me. I sent an email cold to them, thanks to Daniel digging it up. And then with a little support from Sergeant Muffin and BioCow and the expert coding skills of Tinvec, aka Alex Hanna, you can now add Daily Tech Headlines as a flash briefing on Amazon Echo. Just say, add Daily Tech Headlines to my flash briefing, and you're in. Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. We're live Monday through Friday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern at alphageekradio.com and diamondclub.tv. And our website is dailytechnewsshow.com. Back tomorrow with Patrick Beja in the house, and then the confusing schedule is done. Talk to you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Boom, 49 minutes. Heavyweight.
Yeah.
I looked up, it did not feel long. I looked up when we were in the Facebook story and I was like, oh my gosh, it's almost 2:00.
Yeah, dude. No, I think we did. That was a substantive show.
Yeah, we had good stuff.
Who you got tonight?
Oh, why are you even asking me that?
Who you got?
I've got Indians.
Of
course I've got
Indians.
I'm Cleveland. I'm Cleveland all the way tonight.
You're all in on Jobu?
It's Cluebot, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Titles?
Yes.
There's no I in Teams because it's Microsoft, not Apple. Microsoft Teams slacking.
That's funny. It took me a moment. I like that Dark Redeemer put the explanation in there too.
Micro Slack. Microsoft slacks off. Amazon Book and Order. Dia de los Office. Microsoft slacked off getting a chat app out. Trying to cut the slack. A lot of slacky. Teams. Teams player. Free at LastPass. The Twitter who shall not be named. Amazon wants to prime you. Not really mobile.
Dia de los Office.
So you're trying to find some.
Did anyone put Microsoft Teams up on Slack?
This is the Microsoft team. No team up. It's more of a.
Man, everybody went with Microsoft titles here.
Yeah.
There's some good ones.
Hands on the Uber body. The internet partly in your pocket.
I mean, do we go with there's no I in Teams? Justin, what do you think?
Sorry, say it again. I like that first one. Yeah, there's no I in Teams.
And with the paren.
I will leave it up to you whether or not you want to add the explainer.
You know, we'll leave it up, and if it gets cut off, it gets cut off sometimes. Whatever. I like it.
You know,
No, I think I do. I have to cheer for Cleveland, Justin. I have to. There's no alternative for me. There's no hope for me.
There's no last minute reprieve.
No.
For the long suffering. But what about? Hey, by the way, do you know that Bill Murray is a Cubs fan? It's crazy.
Yeah. No, I've known that forever.
It's crazy. Yeah. No, that I would have never known based on all the.
Oh, I see. No. Yeah. It's funny that they keep it covered up.
Yeah. You know, Eddie Vedder too. That's nuts. That's crazy that nobody's ever mentioned before that Eddie Vedder and Bill Murray are Cubs fans.
Yeah, if they should show them in the stands or something, right?
They really should. I mean, you have that many
cool
fans. You know, you really should show them off a little bit, and instead of keeping them so hidden,
keep them under wraps. Joe Buck, come on.
Yeah, why don't you? I don't know why they don't mention it more. It seems odd.
By the way, do you think Joe Buck is biased?
No.
Okay, good.
I don't.
I mean, I grew up with Jack Buck and loved Jack Buck, and so want to love Joe. And sometimes I don't love Joe as much as Jack. Don't get me wrong, but the petition to have him removed, I'm like, I don't hear the bias.
Well, I don't think that's real. I mean,
I mean, obviously it's not real. But it touched a nerve with people who are like, yeah, screw that guy.
Here's my only thing about Joe Buck. I think he's a better football announcer than he is a baseball announcer. Because I think he has a very propulsive kind of voice that is a hallmark of like football. It's like and down the field. Like there's a lot of those.
Yeah.
Kind of like,
well, and he was rebelling against his dad by liking football instead of baseball. Like that's just natural.
But I mean, that being said, I think he's certainly knows his stuff. Like, I don't know. I really don't. I do not personally understand the announcer hate in the way that I think some other people feel it very, very personally.
I just wish he'd give John Cusack a little attention. That's all.
And Vince Vaughn, I think, it's about time that.
Is Vince Vaughn, is he a Cubs fan?
I think he's also a Cubs fan. Sure. Yeah. I'll tell you what, as much as I like to needle Cleveland, that will be for either team. Certainly for Cleveland, it will be great to win it in Cleveland, right?
Sure. And it's a long drought.
Sure.
Not as long as the Cubs, I understand, but
even for the Cubs fans, everybody that gets down there, that is a great stadium for big games. Like they have all those bars right downtown. Like it will be
the Prague.
Yeah.
Do they call it now?
No, like Cleveland really has a great setup down there. Like I think it is awesome that the Cavaliers on, like, I think, was it last night, the Cavaliers, after they won their game, they all just got dressed and got on a golf cart and went
over to the game
to catch the rest of it.
Heck yeah.
You want to know what though? I'm rooting for the Cubs, and here's why. I can't do another year of it. I can't.
And you're going to either way.
That's do another year of, is this the thing? Like, oh no, Bill Murray's so nervous. Like, this is I don't know. I just need to. But listen, I was going to a Northeastern school that got 40% of their attendance from Massachusetts when the Red Sox broke their streak. Like, yes, it was very annoying to watch all these massholes just jump up and down and act like they did something. But you want to know what? It was at least better than them constantly carping about how life was terrible. And they just became insufferable winners as opposed to insufferable losers. And I am better equipped to deal with insufferable winners because we've all been around Cowboys fans our entire life.
But I don't think it's going to change either way. I mean, they've been to a World Series now. That streak is broken. Yeah, they haven't won since 1908. But that's just, I mean, if they win the World Series this year, next year is still going to be all of the, like, can they do it again? That's sort of, I don't know.
That's no. If they win it, then it'll just be, hey, look, Theo Epps, everyone's going to wax
about Theo Epstein, right?
Like, and it'll just be Theo Epstein did it, and oh, look at all these young players, and
Parks and Rec was right.
Yeah, like there's a bop, bop, beep, bop, bop. Like, and they'll just all have a great time.
See, from my standpoint, them winning at all is annoying. So to me, it almost doesn't matter if they win the series or not, because they're gonna be really good and win next year and probably go back.
I can't add that fresh layer of like, no, I'm 18 and I just watched the Cubs not win the championship. So not only did my grandfather not see it, but I didn't see it last.
Oh, but I feed, as a Cardinals fan, that's lunch. We spread that on a cracker and just enjoy it. It's delicious.
You're barbarians. Like, I can't handle it. I can't handle that element of sports, like self-loathing.
No, and I had my fun trolling Cubs fans in the division series, a little bit in the championship series. At this point, of course, I'm going to cheer for Cleveland. It's my duty. It's my responsibility. But yeah, if they win, I mean, hats off. That's a hell of a long time to have to go between series. Granted, the Mariners have never even been, and nobody's crying for the Mariners, but
hey, wasn't Eddie Vedder from Seattle?
Wasn't he?
That wasn't that? Oh yeah. Oh, maybe he'll sing "Take Me Out of the Ball Game" for a Mariners game when they go to the.
Well, the whole "Take Me Out of the Ball Game" thing's hilarious because that started with the White Sox.
Yeah.
Right. Harry Carey was a White Sox announcer when he started doing that. He only brought it to the Cubs in '82. And then now it's become every park does it. So it's actually less special. But I remember in the 90s when you'd go to Busch Stadium in St. Louis, you would actually, in the 80s, even, they would play Here Comes the King in the 7th inning stretch.
Yeah.
Because take me out to the ball game was not the thing you did in the 7th inning stretch. Every park had their own separate thing.
Yeah.
And I remember I was with a friend of mine in college, and we went down to St. Louis to see the Cubs play the Cardinals. He was a Cubs fan. We sat in the bleachers. He's complaining about the bleachers at Wrigley are so much better. No.
Yeah.
Whole game. But we're having a good time. And then the 7th inning stretch comes, and we all stand up and start singing, "Here comes the king, here comes the beer number 1, Budweiser beer." And he's just slack-jawed. And I'm like, "What?" He's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "This is what we do in the 7th inning stretch." And he's like, "That's awful. It's a commercial." And I'm like, I guess it is.
Yeah, yes, it is. Yeah.
But it's what we do.
Hey, by the way, do you want a Budweiser? I'm just going to get up.
You want the frosty cold one?
God, Yankees do God Bless America still, right? Since 9/11.
In the 7th inning stretch?
I think so.
Okay. Yeah.
And what the Sox and the Mets do Sweet Caroline?
Oh, do they not do Take Me Out to the Ball Game at all?
Or or when did Sweet Caroline?
I thought Sweet Caroline was the 8th or something, but I don't recall anymore.
Although, by the way, what an epic. Talking about putting it in their mouth for baseball to trounce the NFL in the ratings on Sunday Night Football.
Oh, yeah.
With the Cowboys and the Eagles playing a meaningful NFC East division game. There was no more take it to the bank ratings getter than an NFC East game that involved the Cowboys. That's huge. I mean, baseball, for all the baseball's dead articles, like that had to feel real good.
Well, then you had those Nielsen numbers about ESPN come out that weekend. And the whole death of NFL on TV meme is flying around. Nielsen, of course, pulled those numbers back, but
I will say this: where the NFL is now, it's not the product that it used to be. They got a real problem. They have a fundamental product.
Is it the concussion stuff? Is that what's
here? My theory is this. And it's related to the concussion stuff. And I don't know how the NFL fixes it. Is that ultimately they realized that our stars are our quarterbacks. So they modified the game to a almost cartoonish degree to protect quarterbacks and wide receivers. Right. That meant that you had to get the best quarterback you can, but because all you need is a franchise quarterback, it forced a lot of teams to play a lot of younger quarterbacks, just hoping that they could snap into it. So you wind up getting a ton of young quarterbacks with players that they haven't really played with, playing sloppy football. And at the end of the day, when the chips are down and you have a protected position like you do at quarterback, you're just going to settle for that 4-yard check down, because keeping them healthy, if they're okay, is always going to be a priority. And that just leads to crappy football. Like,
so the game is more boring, is what you're saying.
Slow, plodding kind of football. Now, layer that on top, the fact that, like, we're not in this heyday of, like, you want to see an almost Hunger Games level, look into our past. Go ahead on YouTube and look up the old jacked up segments they used to do on ESPN Sunday Night Countdown or whatever. Like, it was just a bunch of old, it was the boomer, what's his face? Chris Berman.
Go Berman. Yeah.
Tom Jackson and, whoever else that was in their studio, just crowing about the gigantic concussion hits that were being doled out. Like, and it's like, you just got jacked up. And it's like, now it's like, oh my God, that would be horrifying. Like, that would get a call from the league office. Stop doing that immediately if you were to do it now. But, that's where the game was at the point that it precipitated its most popular. And now, listen, the only marquee quarterback you have, 2 marquee quarterbacks, are Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is having a crappy year. Tom Brady wasn't playing the first 4 games. Ben Roethlisberger, you could put out there, although he doesn't get all the commercials because of, that, one fateful weekend in Georgia. And, but those are the only players that have name recognition that can carry a broadcast. Other than that, why are you watching? You know, because it ain't exactly fun anymore.
Yeah, and at the same time, and not that this is making a big change, but you see baseball out there trying to speed up the game, and baseball has, for the large part, left its steroids controversy behind. It had the worst of it 10 years ago. So yeah, you're definitely starting to see baseball looking as a cleaner alternative.
Well, I mean, baseball is always going to have a unique proposition, though, because they have the summer to themselves. So it's like they almost don't have to play against anybody's expectations except their own. Like they are always going to live in a vacuum because nothing else is going to happen during the summer sport. Football's in a different situation because you got, the end of baseball at the beginning of their season, and then you have basketball and hockey and to their own, with their own different strengths. Hockey's basically the crunchy roll of sports. Like all they have to do is hardcore. And
that's a horrible picture.
I mean, I'm just, it is what it is, right? I'm one of those guys. I love hockey. I just want to watch hockey.
I love Crunchyroll.
Yeah. So it's like, and basketball is a legitimate star factory. Like that's the one thing that basketball has is they got nothing but stars. And that's when basketball is at its best.
And it's been more popular than ever, it seems like lately.
Yeah. And it's an international game, which is the biggest thing. And that's why the NFL keeps forcing these teams out to London to play the shittiest games ever watched.
To under attended exhibition games where you ever get a shot of the stadium, like the seats, it's like, why is there over half of it empty?
Yeah. And they keep putting stuff there. It's so dumb. I don't know why they don't do a game in Mexico. I mean, to me, Mexico would be a far better place for a game. But even then, it's like you don't have enough games to spread around. The NBA could do a game in China, come out of the All-Star break and run
sure
a game or two in China or something like that, and then just put them back on the West Coast for 4 games, or run it as 2 West Coast teams. So play the Lakers versus the Golden State Warriors in Shanghai. Like it'll be a great time for everybody because you got a lot of games, and even if it means Oracle or the Staples Center giving up a gate, figure it out. The NFL can make it up to them.
It's just crazy to watch the complexion of the chat room change as we talk about sports.
Is it fades?
It's dominated by Chimera right now.
I know. I'm watching. Listen, man, there's a reason why I think Tom and I sometimes entertain wild notions of like, doing some kind of sports thing in a world.
Yeah. Listen, if you're sitting there thinking like, you know what? I like listening to Tom and Justin talk. I don't understand any of the sports stuff that they're saying, but I wish I did because it's fun. And I'm not saying all of you are saying that, but if that's what you've been thinking to yourself, like, I just wish they were talking about something I cared more about, but I like the patter. Check out FSLtonight.com. Yeah. It's exactly this patter that we've been talking about, but about science fiction and fantasy franchises.
You're going to get all the references. Don't worry.
Yeah. And you'll feel like, oh, now I understand sports because you're talking about the Coruscant Senators in those words.
That's the only really funny thing is like the criticism of sports or sports talk. I always find to be like so reductive and so much of a reminder of people who had just completely shallow end arguments about tech, when I was growing up, where it's just like, oh, beep bop boop bop nerd boy, like what are you doing? Where it's like on the other, now it's like, well, sports ball, my sports team's better than your local team, like look at that. And it's like,
yeah, especially with the merging of Moneyball type stuff and Elias Sports Bureau stats.
There's a lot of really interesting stuff to talk about in sports. Like it's
totally.
Just, there's a lot of interesting stuff, and it intersects with life and culture and television and entertainment and morality. Like there's a ton of stuff.
I mean, it's there's many things to be said about sports, and it does overlay a lot of the human experience.
Hey guys, check this out.
What the?
Diamond Club TV app is up live on the iTunes store. Look at that screenshot of Justin Robert Young.
It's the same. Oh, it's a different shirt. Different shirt.
It's almost the same
No,
shirt.
that's last night. That's last night's Night Attack.
You can download it right now on iTunes for your iOS device. This app is designed for both the iPhone and the iPad. And get all the diamondclub.tv love.
Diamond Club.
Sergeant Muffin says it's not showing up on the phone yet if you search directly. I've found that a lot of times you just need to go right to the website and then click through because search doesn't work real well.
Oh, so wait, is there a Diamond Club TV/app or something like that?
But no, you just go to the iTunes link for this.
Where is the iTunes link?
I will put it in chat. Oh, it's in chat. Sergeant Muffin's put it in chat at 2:38 p.m.
All right, I'll get it. I'll get it off my phone later. That's amazing. That's great. And I know Sergeant Muffin's built in some amazing shit in there. That's
Yeah, man. I'm looking forward to getting this on my phone. Get in my phone.
live.
Meanwhile, we're almost published. SoundCloud took forever today.
It's a long show.
Yeah, I guess that's true. It was a longer show.
Has to condense all those meaty topics. It was like a 4-course meal of nothing but meat.
Sounds delicious.
Oh, look at this. All right, so speaking of sports, Big Ten will begin playing games on Friday nights.
What?
The new TV contract, which begins next season, will include a package of 6 Friday night games, as first reported by the Chicago Tribune.
Oh, so not always on Friday nights.
No, Friday night games will be limited to September and October and won't include every team. Schools with huge stadiums, such as Penn State and Ohio State, won't be asked to host them. And Michigan has declined to participate in Friday night games at home or on the road.
Well, Illinois has a pretty damn big stadium too, but
And
they are out by the South Farm, so it's easier to siphon the traffic off, I guess.
so Penn State has said that they will not host a Friday night game. Michigan State will. Interesting. That is another, if you look at the rise of ESPN, it is almost directly correlated to college football expanding from Saturday.
Mm-hmm. And that's something I think they if they do it right, they can negotiate an elegant jump to getting those games directly into the hands of the fans who want to pay for them and not lose a ton of money.
Well, you know, here's the thing with ESPN hemorrhaging subscribers. We are closer to cord cutting if ESPN is shedding viewers like that.
Definitely. Yeah.
You are going basically the money might be the same going forward with these rights deals, but the leagues will be able to negotiate greater freedoms. And I think one of those greater freedoms is going to be the ability to sell their own product.
Hey, speaking of selling your own product, do you real-time monitor the pin orders of the new Contender lapel pins?
Yeah, they pop up on my phone.
Oh, do they? So then, I mean, just saying somebody ordered one, how long would they have to wait for you to package it and send it?
I'm literally going right to Guts and Glory. I'm packaging it up and I'm sending it out right after that.
So if you ordered right now,
If you ordered right now, view all these orders. Hey, look at that. Oh, look at that. No, look, there's a Tom Merritt. Oh, look. Oh, look. 3-day shipping. Don't worry, homie. I'll juice you up.
All right. I was just asking for a friend.
That's a really, really bad image when you say, I'm going to juice you up.
That's a quote. That's a quote from
Because I want to wear it on election night. That's what I'm
It's still a bad image.
I'll juice you up.
The
on.
Pope could have said it. It could have been a quote from the Pope, but it's still a bad image.
Wait, would the Pope be quoting Cable Guy? No one.
The new Pope,
No,
Jude
he
Law,
wouldn't-
might.
oh, wait, he wouldn't do that. That was only the one Pope, Pope John Paul, where he did the hand thing.
Yeah.
Ah.
Apparently, your friend and mine, Padre Jay, has a photo with the Pope that he cannot send me over any kind of digital footprint. But he's going to show me the next time I see him in
Oh
person.
my gosh, that's amazing. All right, we are off the air.
Never thought I would say in my life.
I have a secret question. I have to ask Justin Robert Young, so I have to cut the broadcast, folks. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.